What's up, my beautiful people? Because everyone's world could stand to be a little brighter these days, we're back with your daily dose of Reddit Hope and Happy. Going back into r/AskReddit again today, where kids can say the most hilarious things. Alright, so the AskReddit question was, what's the unintentionally funniest thing you've ever heard a child say? Had a friend who transported goods for a pharmaceutical company. He jokingly referred to it as delivering drugs in front of his 4-year-old nephew. One day, the friend was supposed to pick his nephew up from daycare. His caretaker asked him conversationally what his uncle did for a living. Of course, the kid spouts off that his uncle delivered/sold drugs for a living. This did not go over well with the caretaker. She proceeded to call the mother, who burst out laughing before she could explain. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, at least she followed up on a suspicion like that. At least she didn't just take it at face value as it being a joke. Still, though. My little brother, 10, was telling a story about his friend Jay and himself to an older lady who is quite stiff about kids these days. Brother, me and Jay were playing. Lady, Jay and I. Brother, no, you weren't there. Laughter erupts. At the zoo watching a rhino and a young family is next to me. Out of the blue, the rhino got an erection, something brought to my attention by the young boy yelling, "Whoa, look at his wiener! Is yours that big, Daddy?" The father turned bright red while the mother laughed her butt off. Oh my gosh. I was explaining to my 4-year-old son what muscles are and asked him to look at my biceps. He said, "Hold on, I need to get my magnifying glass." I didn't even know what to say, and my wife is still laughing about it. Oh, that's a savage burn from a 4-year-old. Dad, what's that? That's a cemetery. What's a cemetery? That's where they bury dead bodies. Oh. A few minutes pass. Dad? Yeah? Where do they bury the heads? Well on their way to a great dad joke. My wife and I take our children to see Santa in Macy's in New York City. We have a 5-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl. We get on the elevator to go up, and my son says to a 20-something girl as she gets on, "Hey girlfriend, do you want to see my Pokemon?" Driving through Iowa with my 5-year-old. "There's like 100 corns here, Daddy." It's Iowa. Like 90% of that state is corn. I could tell hundreds of stories from my camp counselor days 10 years ago or so. But one that will always stick out was when I had a group of 6 to 8-year-olds on an exploration hike decently far into the woods, and one of the boys told me he needed to go to the bathroom. "Okay, Trevor," I asked, "do you know how to go to the bathroom outside?" Questioning whether or not he understood to do his business out of view from the rest of the group on a tree or something. "Yeah," he assured me while walking away. "I just take out my peanutses and go." Couldn't argue with his answer. I used to work in a preschool, and a little boy heard me say that one of my friends was visiting Baltimore. The kid immediately gasped and went, "You aren't supposed to say his name." He thought that Voldemort was Baltimore, and was horrified that someone I knew was visiting he who must not be named. I didn't bother to correct him. That's good. Literally 5 seconds ago, a little girl asked me, "Are you Melissa?" I am a 250-pound bearded man. I am decidedly not Melissa. I'm a mailman, and one day a little girl came to the door to get the mail. She looked at me with a big smile and said, "Thank you, whale man." I spent the rest of the day thinking about how much more interesting of a job that would be. When I was 4, I told my entire family at my birthday party that my wiener got big whenever I needed to really pee. My grandmother nearly died laughing. Oh, gotta love kids when they say things like this. As a child, my brother didn't like peanuts. As a treat, after dinner one Sunday, we had cornettos. My brother peeled the wrapper off and then turned to my dad and said, "Dad, can you nibble my nuts off?" My aunt wet herself laughing. Went to McDonald's once and headed for the bathroom. Just before I opened the door, this small child busts through with his friend and he yells, "I ain't washing my hands. I'm a bad boy." This happened 4 years ago and I still laugh about it. Well, right now that would make you a bad boy. Frick. I was in a McDonald's bathroom when I was in middle school 20 or so years ago, and the kid in the stall next to me very loudly said, "Grandma, why do you have hairs all over your butt?" I still giggle every time I think about it. Few follow-ups to that one. At a British airport the other week, an American mother and her very young son in the family/disabled cubicle. He very loudly exclaims, "Mom, your butt's so big, like so big." And she proceeded to thank him. I died of silent laughter. My child told me that I had big boobs. I said, "Aw, thanks, honey. I'm her father." Although that could go one of two ways. It could be either fat or muscle, depending on how big your pecs have become. So real quick, before the next one here, if you guys have any stories of your own, feel free to drop them in the comments because I love hearing from you guys. And sometimes the comments to these videos can end up being funnier than the stories that I actually read. I've shared this before, but once when my niece was very little, maybe 3, we passed a bridge under construction and there were 2 big cranes working. She sighed in this resigned way and said, "I knew one day the dinosaurs would come and get me." I almost had to pull over. I laughed so hard. Around the same time, we were having a dinner party and my best friend and I were sitting in the living room. She toddles in and I hold out my arms. She runs and jumps into my friend's lap. I exclaim, "But I'm blood." She screams and runs towards me. "You blood? Where?" And proceeds to check me over for flesh wounds. She's awesome. Sounds like you've got an awesome niece there. Follow up to that one. Reminds me when my son was little, we were having a thunderstorm. He heard thunder and turned to my husband. "Did you hear that giant robot, Daddy?" Oh, that's cute. That actually kind of just reminds me of this one time when I was like really young. I want to say I was like 6, maybe? Something like that. I don't know. Young. Very, very young. Because I remember the sister just under me was like 3. But anywho, so a squirrel had chewed its way through a power line near where we lived. And so power was out for like the whole area. And a big thunderstorm was rolling through. And for some reason, I don't remember what it was, but my dad had to be out of town. I think on work or something like that. He was at a different property that he owned or something. So anyways, my sister and I are just freaked out. You know, there's no power. We can't watch TV. We can't have our lights. We can't really read or anything. And so my mom decided that, we have a fireplace. And this was way back in the day before all the spare the air day stuff started in California. And you could actually use a fireplace if you had one in your home. And so my mom just got my sister and I, and she lit a log in the fire, and we just kind of sat around, and she read stories, and we fell asleep in front of it. And I think the power came on at like 4 that morning, so just a few hours before school, but we were still sound asleep. And that's one of like my favorite memories from when I was a kid. And maybe it's because of the thunderstorm element in this, but yeah, I just was reminded of that. And yeah. When my nephew was a toddler, around Christmas time, he asked me, "Uncle OP, can we sled ride in hell?" I was kind of taken aback, trying not to laugh. We all heard it. My sister cleared it up though. He was trying to say, "Can we sled ride down the hill?" Given how it's supposed to be really, really hot down there, I don't know how you could. "Hey, who farted in my pants?" That would be you, kid. "Mommy, check out my cool nipple." Belly button. The word she was looking for was belly button. A little background. When my daughter was little, she would make any excuse to try to sleep in our bed. We also had a lab named Morty who fell in love with her the day we brought her home from the hospital and followed her around until the day he died. One night, she told me, "Mommy, I can't sleep in my bed because Morty left all of his dog feathers in it." Although, to be fair, when a dog does really shed, it can be very hard to get comfortable on any sort of surface. My little 6-year-old cousin told me that his mom laid an egg and he hatched from it when explaining how he was born. Yes, that's exactly how that works. My niece was 3 when my nephew was born. She came up to me and my girlfriend when we were visiting my sister in the hospital and said, "So, am I not allowed to punch the baby in the head?" No, kid, you are not. Although follow-ups to that, glad she at least asked. My cousin's daughter punched my baby in the head with a Hulk hand on. My godson was told off for hitting his baby brother on the head. He said, "I'm not hitting him, I'm playing the drums." Okay, so other quick story. So when the sister that's just under me, the one that I talked about in the previous story, was a newborn. And granted, I don't really remember this because, like I said, about a 3-year difference, and I only have very, very, very vague memories from that time in my life. Apparently, I wanted to hold her, and my parents were like, "Okay, be very careful, she's just a baby." And I was like, I know, I'll be careful. And I'm just like, I'm holding her, and I'm just like, "Oh, so sweet. Drop the baby!" And then I just let go. And my parents freak out. I mean, I was 3, okay? Don't judge me too harshly. I was 3. My husband was pulled over for random breath testing. As the cop told us we were fine to go on our way, my youngest child piped up, "Well, that went better than last time." Turns out he meant last time hubby was RBT'd, he complained about it because it was raining and the shoulder he pulled up on was boggy. Yes, but that could have gone entirely different with the cop. Family went to Olive Garden restaurant. The waitress delivers the obligatory bowl of salad with the salad tongs, and I proceed to start mixing up the salad with the tongs. My 4-year-old daughter sits up and stares into the bowl and then looks at me and asks, "What are you looking for?" A purpose in life, and I will find it at the bottom of this salad bowl, here in the middle of this Olive Garden. Although now I'm kind of wanting soup, salad, and breadsticks. I talked to my wife about Olive Garden at some point in the not terribly distant future. Was out to lunch with my fiance, her parents, and my 4-year-old niece. I gave her a quarter so she could get some Skittles from the candy machine. We're driving home and she's intentionally offering everyone Skittles and telling me I can't have any. All of a sudden, she looks at me and asks, "What is that in your hand?" I show her my empty hand and she says, "No, your other hand." I was pretty confused and opened my other hand to show her there was nothing in it either. She looks at me with this crap-eating grin and says, "No Skittles." Oh, you got burned. There's more funny and uplifting AskReddit content at the playlist link on your left, or you can check out the video YouTube suggests for you by clicking here on the right. Now you guys stay safe, stay healthy. I will see you all tomorrow. Until then, stay beautiful, people.